Right now, somewhere in the world, a man is staring at the ceiling in the dark. His chest is heavy, his phone is silent, his bed is empty. And yet, only days ago, he thought he had everything. He gave her his time, he gave her his money, he gave her his loyalty, his trust, his heart. He thought that was enough. He thought that was the key. But tonight he lies broken, discarded, and invisible. This is not an accident. This is not a tragedy of fate. This is the design. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of brutal truths, warned that love is not a divine gift. Love is not sacred. Love is not freedom. Love is nature's trick. And you were the prey all along. You see, Schopenhauer believed that women are not angels floating above the world, sent to save you. They are instruments of something far older and far colder. They are the will of life itself, the blind, ruthless force that wants one thing only: to keep humanity reproducing at any cost. And what is the easiest way to chain a man? Not by iron bars, not by whips or prisons, but by his own desire, by his illusion of love. Think about it. How many men have built empires, only to destroy them for the sake of a woman? How many soldiers marched into battle, not for land, not for glory, but for her approval? How many men have worked themselves to death, not to fulfill their own destiny, but to be seen as worthy of love? And what happens when the illusion ends? He is drained, he is weaker, and the will has already won. This is the truth you were never meant to hear. Because if you knew it, if you truly understood it, you would stop playing the game. You would stop chasing. You would stop sacrificing yourself for illusions. Society calls it romance. Religion calls it sacred. Hollywood calls it destiny. But Schopenhauer called it what it really is: enslavement. And this is where you come in, because maybe you've already felt it: the sting of betrayal, the emptiness after giving too much, the pain of realizing you were never loved for who you are, but for what you could provide. If you've been here, if you've bled for love, if you've lost yourself chasing it, then you already know. Deep down, you already know. Schopenhauer's brutal truth is not here to comfort you. It's here to wake you, to strip away the illusion, to make you see what others refuse to see. Because most men will stay blind. Most men will keep worshiping love. Most men will die as slaves to it. But you are not most men. You are here. You are listening. And once you hear this truth, there is no going back. This is the brutal truth Schopenhauer wanted you to hear about women. And tonight, you will hear it. You were taught to believe that love is freedom, that love is the highest expression of your soul, that somewhere out there is the one, the perfect half of you, waiting to complete you. But what if I told you this story is a lie? What if I told you love is not your liberation, but your cage? Schopenhauer called love the greatest illusion nature ever created. Why? Because love convinces you that you are choosing freely, when in reality, you are being used. Think about it. When you fall in love, you feel as if destiny itself has whispered your name. You feel chosen. You feel alive. But peel back the curtain and the truth is darker. It is not you choosing. It is the will of life choosing through you. It is the blind, ruthless force of survival, programming your body and mind to reproduce. You are not a sovereign lover. You are an actor in a play written by nature, long before you were born. That's why the feeling is so overwhelming. That's why you lose yourself, because you are no longer living for yourself. You are living for the will. Schopenhauer wrote, "Love is nothing but the will to life, in its most cunning disguise." And what a disguise it is. Look at the world around you. Dating apps dress it up with glowing photos and witty bios. Hookup culture promises freedom, but chains men to endless seeking. Movies tell you about soulmates. Songs scream about eternal love. Everywhere, the same script is repeated. Love is sacred. Love is everything. But what is really happening? Billions of men swipe, message, chase, and compete. Not out of free will, but out of a primal instinct whispering, reproduce, reproduce, reproduce. And women, they become the gatekeepers of that instinct, the prize dangled to keep men running like rats in a wheel. Do you see the genius of this illusion? You think you are in control. You think you are choosing her. But in truth, you are being chosen by nature. You are enslaved to a force that does not care about your happiness, your peace, or your destiny. It only cares that the species survives. And the cost? Your freedom. You sacrifice years of your life chasing the one. You pour your money, your energy, your soul into impressing her. You mold yourself into what you think she wants. You fight other men for her approval. And when she leaves, as so many do, you are shattered. Why? Because the illusion breaks. And in that moment, you see the truth. Love was never about you. It was about the will. History proves it. Kings have waged wars over women who did not love them back. Empires have crumbled because a man mistook lust for destiny. From Helen of Troy to Cleopatra, men have been puppets, pulled by strings of desire. And today, it's the same story in a different costume. Look around. Men obsessing over Instagram models, simping for streamers, falling into debt to keep a girlfriend happy. They believe it's love. It's not. It's enslavement. And here is the brutal part. You volunteered for it. You begged for the chains. You believed love would set you free. But freedom is the last thing love gives. Schopenhauer said that love is like a drug. It feels like ecstasy in the beginning, but every high has a crash. And every crash leaves you emptier than before. You know this. You've felt it. The late-night texts, the obsessive thoughts, the desperate longing, followed by betrayal, ghosting, rejection. This is the cycle. This is the illusion. And the reason it hurts so deeply is because you were never meant to see it. Society doesn't want you to. The will doesn't want you to. Because if you did, if you truly saw through it, you would stop playing the game. So, let me ask you, how many years have you already wasted on this illusion? How much of yourself have you burned for women who never even saw you? How much more will you give away before you wake up? Love is not freedom. Love is not sacred. Love is the mask of the will. And if you don't rip it off, it will own you until your dying breath. You have been told that women are fragile, that women are innocent, that women are the gentler half of humanity, soft, nurturing, in need of protection. But Schopenhauer laughed at this illusion, because behind the softness, behind the beauty, behind the smiles, there is strategy. Nature needed a way to control men, to bend kings and peasants alike to its will. And what better way than through women? Women, Schopenhauer said, are not weak angels. They are nature's most effective weapon. A weapon disguised as love, a weapon disguised as beauty. Think about it. Why do men build empires? Why do they work until their backs break, their health collapses, their spirit burns out? It isn't for the love of labor. It isn't for the glory of toil. It's because somewhere in their minds, they believe this will make them worthy of women. Men fight wars for land, for honor, for religion. But beneath it all, how many are fighting for her gaze? How many armies march because of the promise of beauty waiting at home? How many kingdoms fell because a woman whispered in the ear of a man who could not resist? Helen of Troy, her face was said to launch 1,000 ships. Cleopatra, whose beauty ensnared both Caesar and Mark Antony, shattering Rome's unity. Kings and conquerors undone, not by swords, not by spears, but by the pull of desire wrapped in feminine form. History remembers them as legends. Schopenhauer remembered them as proof that women are not passive. They are the gatekeepers of the will. And the truth is this: you are not loving a person. You are loving a strategy. The curve of her lips, the softness of her skin, the sound of her laughter, they feel personal, unique, intimate. But step back and you'll see the same pattern repeated across all of history. These are not just traits, they are tools. Tools nature gave women to keep men chasing, sacrificing, destroying themselves. Seduction, scarcity, silence, withdrawal. Every man has felt these weapons, though most never recognize them for what they are. You text her and wait hours for a reply. Scarcity. You finally earn her attention, only for it to vanish the moment you hesitate. Withdrawal. You see her smile at another man. Provocation. Each move, intentional or not, keeps you off balance, keeps you chasing, keeps you bleeding for approval. And you call this love. But Schopenhauer stripped away the mask. He said, women's beauty is not some divine miracle. It is bait. a lure set by the will to enslave men into sacrifice. Look at the modern world. Billions of dollars spent on makeup, fashion, cosmetic surgery, filters, apps. Entire industries exist to weaponize beauty, to sharpen the tools of seduction. And men pay for it. Men finance it. Men bankrupt themselves for it. Even the so-called independent man isn't free. He works overtime, not to live freely, but to buy the house, the car, the lifestyle, to prove himself desirable to women. He still kneels, he still obeys, and he still calls it love. But once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Every smile hides the will. Every glance hides the strategy. Every embrace is a contract you never signed, but one you are bound to by nature itself. This isn't hatred. This isn't bitterness. It's clarity. It's Schopenhauer tearing away the veil and showing you the machine beneath. Because until you see it, you remain a pawn. And pawns don't choose their destiny. They are moved, sacrificed, erased. So look closer. At the women you've chased. At the women you've loved. At the women who left you empty. Were you really loving them, or were you loving the strategy, the illusion nature wrapped them in? The answer is brutal, and the answer is liberating, because the moment you see through it, the game changes, the spell breaks, and the will loses its grip. But as long as you stay blind, you will keep kneeling, keep chasing, keep bleeding, and in the end, you will lose, not to women, but to the strategy that has controlled men since the beginning of time. Desire feels like life itself. That rush when she smiles, the fire in your chest when she touches your hand. It feels like proof that you're alive. But Schopenhauer warned, this fire is not freedom, it is enslavement. The moment desire takes root, logic collapses. You stop thinking, you stop choosing, you start obeying. Desire whispers, she is everything. Desire convinces you that your worth depends on her approval. And once you believe that lie, you will sacrifice anything. Look at the modern man. He works a job he hates, not for himself, but to impress her. He drains his savings on dinners, gifts, vacations, not because he wants them, but because he hopes they will buy affection. He spends hours glued to his phone, waiting for her reply, chained to the dopamine drip of her attention. This is not love. This is not choice. This is addiction. And like every addiction, it consumes you. Your health, your money, your years, gone, offered at the altar of desire. You know this trap. You've felt it. The late-night text you shouldn't have sent. The weekend you wasted waiting for her call. The money you spent, even though you couldn't afford it. Every time you told yourself, just one more step and I'll win her. But you never win. Because desire is a bottomless pit. This is what Schopenhauer called the sunk cost trap. You've already given so much, you can't walk away now. So you give more and more until nothing is left. Men stay in toxic relationships for years because they can't accept that everything they poured in is gone. They keep chasing the fantasy, believing that the next gift, the next sacrifice, the next apology will finally pay off. It never does. Because desire isn't meant to be fulfilled. It's meant to enslave. Think of the gambler at the slot machine. Every loss makes him more desperate to win. Every near miss convinces him the jackpot is coming. So, he keeps feeding the machine until it takes everything. Desire is the same. Every rejection makes you chase harder. Every glimpse of affection convinces you she's the one. And you keep feeding the machine until it takes everything. Here is the brutal truth. The moment you desire, you become prey. She doesn't even need to act. Your own mind becomes the cage. Your own fantasies become the leash. And what do you lose? Your freedom, your power, your self-respect. The man who cannot master his desire will never master his life. He will always kneel, he will always chase, and he will always lose. What happens if you ignore these truths? What happens if you keep believing the illusion? Look around. The evidence is everywhere. Men who gave everything and never recovered. Men who built their lives around a woman, only to be left with nothing when she walked away. Men who spiraled into depression, addiction, even suicide, because they could not accept that love was never what they thought it was. Schopenhauer warned, "The man who worships women is the man who loses himself." And you've seen it. The friend who stayed in a toxic relationship until it broke his spirit. The father who gave his family everything, only to die, ignored and forgotten. The man who sacrificed his purpose for approval, only to be abandoned when his value ran dry. They thought they were being noble. They thought they were proving their love. But all they proved was how easily men can be broken when they live blind. And what's the cost? Not just heartbreak, not just betrayal. The cost is your entire life. How many years are wasted chasing what was never real? How much money is spent, not on your destiny, but on dinners, gifts, and promises that meant nothing? How much strength is drained fighting battles that were never yours to fight? Most men die this way, sacrificed, forgotten, erased by their own illusions. And here's the part that should terrify you. Society applauds it. They call it romance. They call it loyalty. They call it love. But what it really is self-destruction. The man who kneels at the altar of women never stands tall again. He becomes invisible, a shadow of what he could have been. But history remembers another kind of man, the rare few who saw through the illusion, the few who refused to kneel. Think of the Stoics who chose purpose over pleasure. Think of men like Tesla, who refused marriage, who gave himself entirely to his work, his vision, his will. Mocked by society, yes, but feared, respected, untouchable. The difference between the broken man and the untouchable one is not intelligence. It's not strength, it's awareness. One stays blind and pays the price with his life. The other sees the trap and walks free. So ask yourself, which man will you be? The one who bleeds out, dying for illusions that were never yours, or the one who sees through the mask, tears off the chains, and claims sovereignty over himself? The cost of ignorance is everything. The reward of awakening is freedom. Most men will choose ignorance. Most men will pay the price. But you don't have to. You've seen the cost of ignorance. You've seen what happens to the men who stay blind. But now, the question is this: how do you rise above? Schopenhauer's answer was brutal but clear. You must live above illusion. You must see women not as divine saviors, not as the meaning of your existence, but as humans, ordinary, flawed, temporary. And the moment you do, the spell breaks. Understand this. Women are not evil. They are not devils nor angels. They are instruments of nature's will. And if you can see them as such, if you can strip away the mask, you gain something few men ever taste: sovereignty. Sovereignty means this: you choose, you decide, you live for your purpose, not for their approval. You obey your own will, not the whispers of desire. Think of the Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. These men warned against enslavement to passion. They taught detachment, not because they hated life, but because they valued freedom above all else. They knew that the man who chases is the man who kneels. But the man who stands apart, the man who governs himself, that man is feared. Or, look at modern icons. Nikola Tesla, mocked for his solitude, but untouched by the chains of romance. He poured his energy into invention, into vision, into something higher than seduction. Did he suffer loneliness? Yes. But did he kneel? Never. And history remembers him as sovereign. Sovereignty is not about rejecting women. It's about refusing worship. It's about engaging with eyes open, without chains, without illusion. So, how do you do it? How do you rise? First, detachment. When desire rises, delay. Do not act. Observe the fire without obeying it. Desire loses power when you refuse its commands. Second, depersonalize. She is not the one. She is not your... She is a human, like billions before her, like billions after. Strip away the fantasy and you see her clearly. Third, audit your will. Ask yourself, am I doing this for her or for me? Every week, every decision, measure it against sovereignty. If the answer is for her approval, walk away. If the answer is for my freedom, proceed. This is not easy, because everything in society screams the opposite. Movies tell you to chase, songs tell you to worship, religion tells you to kneel, but Schopenhauer tells you, rise. And once you do, everything changes. Suddenly, you no longer waste years chasing approval. You no longer crumble when attention vanishes. You no longer sell your soul for a glance, a touch, a kiss. Instead, you move with quiet force. You speak less, but when you do, the world listens. You chase nothing, and everything begins to chase you. This is the paradox of sovereignty. The man who needs nothing becomes the man desired by all. But unlike the blind, he does not bow. He chooses. And that is the final power, the power to engage without enslavement, the power to see women not as gods, not as enemies, but as players in a game you no longer have to lose. Most men will never reach this. They will remain trapped. They will remain blind. But you are hearing this now, and that alone sets you apart. Because sovereignty is rare, and the rare are feared, the rare are remembered, the rare are untouchable. Everything you've heard so far has been leading here. The brutal truths are not separate pieces. They form a single chain, a chain that has bound men for thousands of years. Love is the illusion. Women are the strategy. Desire is the slavery. Ignorance is the ruin. But sovereignty is freedom. This is the moment where you choose. Do you stay blind like most men? Or do you rise and become untouchable? Understand this. The world does not want you awake. Society feeds you fantasies because obedient men are easier to control. Religion tells you to kneel, to sacrifice, to suffer for love. Movies fill your head with stories of soulmates and happy endings. Everywhere you are told, love her, worship her, chase her. And most men obey. They waste their lives kneeling before illusions. They never question. They never see. But you are not most men. The fact that you are here, listening to this, proves it. You already feel the cracks forming in the old self. You already sense the illusions breaking. You already know you can't go back. Because once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you hear the brutal truth, the world never looks the same. Think about the boy you used to be. Naive, hopeful, always waiting for her text, always begging for her attention, always believing that love would save him. That boy was weak. That boy was blind. That boy is dead now. In his place stands something new. Someone new. A man who sees through the mask. A man who is no longer ruled by lust, by fantasy, by illusion. A man who is sovereign. This is the transformation Schopenhauer demanded. Not to hate women, not to run from them, but to rise above the game, to engage without enslavement, to desire without kneeling, to stand in the storm of temptation and remain unshaken. That is what makes you untouchable. Think of the rare men who reached this state, the Stoics who rejected chains, the inventors who sacrificed romance for vision, the leaders who saw seduction for what it was and chose power instead. They were mocked, yes. They were misunderstood. But they were never broken. They belonged to no one. And now, you have the same choice. You can remain a slave, forever chasing, forever giving, forever broken. Or you can become untouchable, a man who cannot be manipulated, who cannot be bent, who cannot be destroyed by illusion. Ask yourself, which path do you choose? Because here's the truth no one dares to say. Most men will die as slaves, but a few, a rare, chosen few, will rise as sovereigns. And those few are feared, those few are remembered, those few shape the world. You are standing at the threshold of that transformation. You are at the point of no return. The illusions have been exposed, the chains have been revealed, and the question remains, will you step through? You are not the boy who begged. You are not the fool who worshipped. You are the man who sees, the man who stands, the man who does not bow. Repeat this truth until it burns into your mind. Love is illusion. Women are strategy. Desire is slavery. Ignorance is ruin. But sovereignty is freedom. Most will never know it. Most will never taste it. But you have been shown. You have heard the forbidden words. You have seen the chains break. From this moment forward, you are no longer prey. From this moment forward, you are no longer blind. From this moment forward, you are untouchable. Enough. No more begging, no more apologizing, no more kneeling before illusions that were never real. From this moment forward, you choose sovereignty. From this moment forward, you stand above the game. Love will not own you. Desire will not blind you. Illusion will not enslave you. Most men will stay blind. Most men will keep chasing. Most men will die on their knees. But you are not most men. You are here. You have heard the forbidden truth. And now the choice is in your hands. You can go back. Pretend you never heard this. Pretend you're still asleep. Or you can step forward, into the circle of men who see what others cannot. The rare few who are feared. The rare few who are remembered. The rare few who are untouchable. This is not entertainment. This is initiation. If you are ready to strip away the mask, if you are ready to rise as sovereign, then this is your command. Subscribe, not as a fan, not as a follower, but as a declaration that you refuse to live blind. Click it. Now, and step fully into the circle, because most will never awaken. Most will never break their chains. But you are not most. You see, and now, you rise.